All right, so here we go. Well, okay, so let's proceed with our development. Right. If you have any questions, please let me know. So far, I want to believe that everybody understood what we have done. Yeah, we have been able to uniquely identify two divisions. Yeah, the div is a short for division, right? Just to okay. There's something you did not get right. Yeah. Okay. Now you're not supposed to have any special result yet. My page is still blank. Yeah, but is your div element colored blue? Exactly. Exactly. So you're supposed right in your opening tag, you should just put, you should just add a space right in your div opening tag, add a space, and then type class equal to open double quotes, type header, then close double quotes. This is basically how to add a unique name to your element. And you can do this to any element. You can do this to your body element, to any element in your project at all. Yeah. Okay, do we have someone having any other question? Okay, so I think we're making some progress. Let's just proceed then. Since we've been able to uniquely differentiate our header from our main area, let's go on. Now here in the header, what are we supposed to have? What are we supposed to have in the header? Well, we're supposed to have the logo here, pet shop, right? For now, I will not make use of the logo. I'll just use a an H1 element so that I can have a big word that looks like the logo. And H1 is one of the heading elements, and you do it like this. Remember, because an element you have an opening and the closing tag, and right in between, pet shop, like this. Camel case. Okay, so you have this. Yeah, with this, I think I've successfully created my header, the header part of my um, mobile app. If you've been able to do this, please let me know. You have the heading element H1. You can actually have H2, H3, H4, H5, up to H6. And the larger the number, the smaller the size. So H1 gives you the biggest size, and H6 like this, and you must change this correspondingly. H6 will give you the smallest size, right? But we're using H1 right now because we want something really big that will represent our logo well. Okay, so you save this and come over here, and if I refresh, now remember that for every change that you make on your code editor, you must save it. Ctrl S, or like we did before, go through file and click save. You must save whatever change you make to be able to see it reflect on the browser. And it will not just reflect on the browser by itself. You need to come over here and click the refresh button to reload the page. Oh, there it is, pet shop. And that's my header, but this does not look like a mobile app. So how do we make this appear like a mobile app? Please follow me very closely now. Right click. Oh, you can't do it this way. Go to tools, then go to web developer. Yeah, if you're using Firefox, this will work for you. If you're using Firefox, this will work for you. Go to Tools, go to Web Developer, then click Responsive Design Mode, like this. Beautiful. Now this is looking more like a mobile app interface, or say a mobile app emulator. And as you can see, Pet Shop is appearing somewhere there at the top, like our heading in this mock-up over here. Pet Shop. Yes. Okay, if you're using Chrome, I'll tell you what to do, right? If you're using Chrome, right click. If you right click on your browser in Chrome, you should see Inspect as the last option of the pop-up. Click Inspect. Now something pops up. Showing elements, console, sources as the heading. I don't know if you have seen that yet. Yeah, towards the tail end, just before elements, you see something that looks like a small screen and a big screen. You can toggle that to switch between your mobile and your desktop view. So if you, now I'm on Chrome, if you look at what I'm doing here and you come to this area where my cursor is, where you have responsive, if you click there, it gives you a number of mobile application samples that you can test with, right? You can test with this, and basically this is just to show you how the size will look when it eventually gets to run on any of these smartphones. So how will this mobile app appear on Galaxy S5? If I click this, it shows me that. How will this mobile app appear on iPhone 5? If I click this, it shows me that. How will this mobile app appear on Moto G4? If I click this, it shows me that, just like that. And I can do the same thing on Firefox, just somewhere similar to that right here. If I click here, it shows me a list of other options. How will this view be on iPad? If I click this, it shows me that. How will it look on iPhone 6, 7 and 8? If I click this, it shows me that, just like that. And right now it shows me an emulator, a view of my mobile app with my header towards the top left hand corner. But our mockup has the header, the logo in the middle, in the center. That's a cause for concern, which we will consider much later. Okay, but let's come back to our project and progress. We'll come back to that later. And now this is supposed to be done with our style. We'll use another language to ensure that our logo, as in my case here, is centralized rather than being in a corner like it is now. But let's not get distracted with that. Let's just go on and ensure that we have all of these details represented to start with. Then we can begin to consider the arrangement and the styling. Is that fine? With HTML, we can display everything that's here. We can get to show everything that's in this mockup, right? We can get to develop, to create everything that's in this mockup just with HTML, except that we will not be able to achieve this exact arrangement until we begin to write CSS, and that's where CSS plays a very big role. Okay, so we don't want to jump into that now. Since we know that with HTML we can do this, let's just go on and do that real fast now. Okay, next thing we want to consider is the main area, and the main area has a section. Remember that we created a main div, which we named main, right? and inside that we should have all of these items. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the first. The first one has an image to the left, and then it has some text to the right, and a button, an edit button right below. Okay, but this looks like it's in a container, because as you can see there is a gray border around each of these items, right? So let's go ahead and do something like that. That means we need another div to uniquely identify each of the items, right? So here I'll create another border, and I'll give this a class name of item 1 to say I am talking about the first item in the list. And in the first item in the list, what do we have? We have an image to the left, so we need an image, and we have some text to the right. But I think it would be safe to just create another division for this, because this is like dividing this container here into two. So it would be safe to have another div for this and a different div for this altogether. So let's do that now. So we have another div, and this is to hold the camera image. So I'll give this a class name of image, because this is what will hold the image, and then I will need another div to hold other details. So I'll give this a class name of other details. Other details. Right? Okay, so if you're following, please signify. If you're confused, if you're lost in any way, signify as well, so that we can ensure that everybody is following. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let's slow down. Okay, so far, have you been able to write your code to match mine? Let me know if you've been able to write your code to match mine. If you have been able to do that, you should have a div element with main as the class name, and then another div element with item 1 as the class name, and another div element inside the item 1. Remember, item 1 is inside the main, and we have inside our item 1, has an image and the product details. So we have this div here to contain the image, and we have this div here to contain the other details, like we have on this mockup here. We have this div here to contain our image, and this div here to contain other details. Right, that's just what we're doing. Please let me know if we can proceed. If we can proceed, just type proceed in the chat. If you feel that you're good enough and we can proceed, just type proceed in the chat so we can continue. Or hold on until you have catch. Okay, one person has said proceed. Anybody else feels we can proceed? Okay, here it is. So just type proceed in the chat box. Okay, you would like to see my code, sorry. Just type proceed in the chat box when you are set. Alright. Okay, so we'll just proceed now. yeah, the next thing on the um, next thing on our mockup, which we want to create, is, yeah, we have an image right inside there. Remember that all that we have done so far is just creating containers, right? So we have the main div to represent the whole page that's containing all our items, and inside that main area, inside this main area, we have item 1, item 2, item 3, and here we have represented item 1, right? And we know that this is item 1 because we gave it a class name of item 1 here. And next, inside item 1, from our mockup here, we can see that in item 1 we have an image. So inside item 1, we created a container to hold our image, a division for our image. That's it there. And we know this is the division for our image because we gave it a class name of image. And next, in our item 1, we have a division for the text and the button, and that's what we categorize as other details. And here is the div to contain other details, and we know this is the division for other details because we give it a class name of other details right here. Next, we want to go ahead and add an image inside the image division, and then of course the other details should go inside the other details division. Let's get started. You would need an image tag. The image tag is a self-closing tag. Unlike all the other tags that we have been writing that has a start element and a closing element, the image tag does not have a closing element. You only need one, and that's the start element, just one. Right, so to do that, I'll do left angle bracket the same way we create tags, except that you won't write image in full, you write img. And this is how to create an image element, right? That's an image tag there. You don't need a closing tag for image tags. But this will not produce an image. This will not produce an image. This will only this has only made sure that you are ready to insert an image, right? So how do we go ahead and specify a particular image? Remember that this image ought to be on your computer already, and then you will be specifying the location of that image in this image element or this image tag for your browser to be able to capture that image and represent it, right? So how do we do this? Just like we did specifying a class name for all our divs, you just need to specify a source for your image. So right inside your tag, after the img, add a space like this, and then source, type source, but then you type source in short, src, like this. And then with an equal to sign, you can specify what is the location of your image, like that. Okay, so I have something that looks like that camera image, and since my project is on the desktop, I'll just go pick up that camera image. Yeah, I have a copy here. I'll copy that, and if you don't have exactly what I have here, can you just find an image on your computer? If you are using Windows 10, you can go to pictures and okay, I don't know if you have saved pictures here, or I don't have saved pictures here. You could just use any pictures that you have on your computer for now. Okay, I'm using the camera image that I have here. Okay, I'll be sharing this files with you after the training now. So I'm copying this, and I'll be pasting it on the desktop because that's where my project is. Remember where you saved your project to when we got started? See, this is mine here. I saved mine as my app and I saved it to the desktop. My image must be in the same place that my project is. So I'll paste my image right there. Good. Now it's in the same location. This name here doesn't look nice. I'm talking about the name of my camera here. I just want to change that to camera so I can easily locate that. Now that's my image. The next information I need from this image is I need to know what kind of image this is. Is this a JPEG image? Is this a GIF? Is this a PNG image? You could use any of these image types. I need to know what kind of image this is to be able to use it. So to know what type of image this is, I'll right click on the image and I'll scroll down to property in this pop-up. Now I have property here, properties. Click properties and this pop-up comes up, the dialog box pops up, and here you have type of file and it is PNG. You can see here it says .png. So this is actually a PNG image, and when I want to use this image anywhere I want to use it, I'll have to make use of this extension or this file extension, this .png, because that's how to uniquely identify this type of image. Okay, so having known that, having put the image in the same location as my project and known the image name, which is camera, and also the image type, which is PNG, I can go ahead and specify my image source. Number one, my image name is camera and my image type is PNG. So I'll say dot the image type, PNG in this case, just like that. With this, I should have my image show up on my page. Let me know if you are lost so that I can do a recap. And someone is saying he has not gotten it yet. Okay, someone wants me to come back on the SRC. Yeah, I'll take it again. Remember that we are trying to create an image that looks something like what we have here, this camera here, right? And to do that, we need to specify the source, right? Remember that to create an image, the first thing is you create your image tag, which is img, and then you open and close the angle brackets. You add a space after img, and the SRC stands for source. What is the source of your image? And what is expected to go inside there is the location of your image. So specify source and equal to the quotes. Then what should be inside your quotes should be the name of your image if the image is in the same location as your project. Go ahead and specify the name of the image. Mine is camera, so I'm using camera here. So what is the name of your image? Specify that there. Dot the file type. Remember how we checked the file type? We came over here, right clicked on camera and went down to properties, and that was just to get the file type. The file type here was .png, and that was how we knew that we were supposed to do .png after mentioning the image name, which is camera. So we have .png there. Let me know if you understand now. If you understand it now, or if you're still lost, please let me know. Please look at the code closely and try to understand every single bit. I'll just wait for you to get it through. Okay, yeah. Okay, so Daniela said he has gotten it. Tell her, were you able to get it done? Oh, beautiful. So, can we go back to our code? We should see our image on the browser now. Save your work because we've made some changes. To be able to see the effect of your changes, save first. I've saved mine. You can use Ctrl S to save as a shortcut. After you have saved, open up your browser, navigate to your project. Here's mine, and just click the refresh button on your browser. Wow, my image is showing up. Let me know if your image has showed up. Beautiful. So Taylor says his image is showing now. Daniel, is the image showing too? Okay, so Daniel says his image is also showing. We'll just go ahead and continue now. Yeah, good enough. We're making some progress. Okay, Daniel says his image is not showing. Let's give him some time. Look at my code again and make sure that your code is looking like mine. Make sure that the image that you're trying to use is in the same place where you saved your project to. It must be in the same location, and make sure that you're typing the name of the image correctly and that you've been able to identify the type of the image. Yours might be a JPEG. If it is JPEG, you should type JPG, and if it is a GIF image, you should have GIF. I'm using PNG here because mine is a PNG image. Okay, you have not. You will not close. You will not close that tab. Yeah, that's why we're not showing. You show up. Save first. Save.
It's automatic.
It does not save. Okay, so is this saved already? Yeah. Follow the area. Check it out. Let me see. Where is your image? Where's your image? Show me the location. The image is not in the same location as your project. Copy your image and make sure that it's in the same location where your project is. Where did you save your project to?
Yeah.
Next step. Yeah, paste your image there. Yeah, paste your image there. It should work now. Check it out. Alright, so everybody have the image showing up now, and we want to just move on now. Yeah.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, so everybody have the image showing now. Let's move on. Back to the mockup. We have our image, and on the right hand side we're supposed to have other details about the products. Okay, so let's go ahead and type other details here. Other details. Other details will include something that looks like a paragraph. So here it looks like we have a paragraph line there, and then another paragraph line, and then a button, right? And that is inside our other details division on the right hand side. So in your code editor, please go to the other details div, and right inside that begin to type your paragraph. The first paragraph says Canon EOS R5. So I'm typing Canon EOS R5. Now we need another paragraph, so I'll just go ahead and type P like this. Remember that the P tag is how you specify your paragraph. And the next paragraph contains the price, a pipe. There's a pipe on your keyboard somewhere on top of your shift button or beside your enter button. And then you have 8 items, a word. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do just that. So I have the price in dollars, $505.99. So we have dollars 505.99. We have 505.99, and then add a little space and pipe, and add another space, then 8 items like that. So we're just replicating what we have up there. Now you have 8 items there. Now this is exactly as we have it. Yep. Pipe, something like a pipe is the key that's next to your enter button on your keyboard. This pipe, this line in the middle here, that's the pipe. So you achieve that by holding shift down and typing that key that's next to your enter button. And that's how you achieve that. Okay, so then you have space, and then you have 8 items, just like that. And the very next line, which is this, is a button. It's an edit button there. It's an edit button right there. So we're going to be creating a button. So you just need to spell button, and you make this into an element, right? You turn this into a tag, add your angle brackets, and then you create the closing tag as well, button. And right inside that, you add the word edit. With this done, we are basically done with the markup of our first item. Let me know if you have any questions. We're done with the markup of our first item, because now we have the image in the image element in the image div. Now we have other details in the other details div right here. Okay, if you've been able to achieve this same thing, can you just specify that in the chat? Okay, good. Okay, cool. So Daniel, what's the progress level? Have you been able to achieve that? Okay, so let's go ahead and save our changes so far. Save your changes. Open up your, okay, you like to see my code? Here it is. Okay, so if you've been able to achieve the same thing, just go ahead and save your changes, open up your browser, and refresh the page. Save your changes, open up your browser, navigate to your project, yeah, you can take screenshots if you want. You can take screenshots if you want. You can take screenshots if you want. Open up your browser and then refresh like this. So you have that. Feel free to take screenshots if you want. Okay, feel free to take screenshots if you want. So far, we have been able to create this. Okay, please let me know if we can progress. Just tell me progress if you are set for the next level. If you're set to go forward, just let me know so that we can progress. Just tell me progress on the chat. Okay, somebody said set. Okay, so let's go on. Yeah, so we can go on to the next level. If you compare what I have here with what I have here, especially for the first item, they don't look exactly the same, but the good story is that we're getting closer to our goal, right? If you compare the two of them, you realize that we're gradually getting closer, right? Okay, so we need to add some CSS now. We need to add some CSS now to make it look like this at least. We need to add some CSS now. Now CSS is different from HTML. HTML is just a markup language, and CSS is a styling language. Talk about adding colors, changing the size of your elements, making it more beautiful, more user-friendly, more attractive. You do that with CSS. And we're going to be doing inline CSS right now. Inline CSS is what we'll be doing. Okay, so follow me as we do this. Right? Follow me as we do this. Yes. Remember that we had to maintain our logo at this position because we were trying not to, we were just doing HTML back then, and now since we'll be doing CSS, we can rightly position this and give it the appropriate color, just like we have it here, and probably even change the font type to look just like this, and then also be able to arrange our item, our first item especially, to look just like this as well, instead of having it scattered like this all over the page. Right? So let's go. Open up your code editor one more time. Let me know when you're ready. I want to believe you're ready now. And go back to your header div. Remember that now we are doing CSS. We want to add some beauty to our page, to our mobile app page. And go right back to your header div elements, and we'll be doing inline CSS. Right in your opening tag, this I'm talking about your header div now. In the opening tag, just after the quotes, just after the closing quote there, add a space. That is just before the right angle bracket of the div opening tag, just before the right angle bracket. Add a space there and type style, because we want to do the style here now. CSS means cascading style sheets, right? So that's what you use to beautify your page, right? So go ahead and type style. Go ahead and type style, and inside this you can specify the style values, right? Just like we did for class, you can actually have stuff like this. You just specify the name on the left hand side, you put an equal to, then you open quotes on the right hand side, and then inside the quotes you can add values. In this case we're using the keyword style, and we are trying to, okay, sorry, someone looked like someone was asking a question. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so in this case we are going to be adding some styles now. And here, the first thing we want to do is put this pet shop in the center, just like we have it here. We want this guy to be in the center, right? So let's do that very easily. Follow me. Text align, text hyphen align. Now this is the property name. Text hyphen align. This is the property name, and to specify the value, you must put a semicolon, and then you say center. You could specify the value as right, left, or center. Those are the three possible values. But now we want it to be in the center, so we specify center. Remember, it is text align as the property name. CSS will usually have property names and values. The property name here is text align because we want to try to position the text that's inside the div.
That's almost commercial. I didn't study already. I didn't study my CSS already. I finished the way it's
Basically.
okay, it's following you.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, there was a break in the connection, but I'm back now, and I think we can proceed. So let's just go ahead and proceed now. Yeah. Remember that what we're trying to do is to add the style. We're trying to style our heading, right? We're trying to put it in the center, and so far we have added a style. Now this is called an attribute. This is called an attribute. This is a class attribute. A class attribute will always have a value, usually within quotes like this. Put an equal to sign to attach it to the name. This is also an attribute. This is a style attribute. This is an attribute as well. This is a source attribute. So when you have any character inside your opening tag, as soon as you specify the particular tag name, you add a space and begin to type any other thing, you're already beginning to type an attribute, right? So this is an attribute, and our attribute value in this case is text align, which is a CSS rule, right? Text align is the CSS property name, and the value of this property name in this case is center, and that's because we want the content of this div element to be in the center. If you save the changes that you've made and you go refresh your browser, Pet Shop should be in the center now. If you have that, can you just say yes? If you have Pet Shop in the center now, like I do, yeah. So can we proceed now? Right, so we're gradually reaching our goal. One more thing about the Pet Shop heading here is the coloring. You realize that pet is colored black and shop is colored pink. Can we quickly do that? That means we'll need to distinguish pet and shop, right? Okay, let's not go into too many complexities. Let's just give everything here the color pink. So we'll just do color. Remember that every CSS rule is composed of 4 things. For every new CSS style you want to add, you must first specify the property name, specify a colon, then the property value, and end with a semicolon. Now that we want to change the color, we'll go ahead and specify the property name, which in this case is color, a colon, and then the property value, which is supposed to be our choice of color, and I'll choose pink. If you type pink, you can go ahead and end this with a semicolon. If you save that now and open up your browser, navigate to your project and refresh, you'll see that it's pink now. Okay, can we change the way the font looks? You can, and that's font family. Once again, specify the property name, which is in this case font family. Specify the value. In this case, we could just use Century Gothic. You could use Arial, you could use Arial Black. If you have Microsoft Word installed on your computer, you can go in there and there you can make use of some of those font type names here. Okay, I already know this offhand, so I know there is Century Gothic there, so I can just use that. Century Gothic, that's my new family, font family now, and that will basically change how my Pet Shop looks. This font type, the way it appears, right? So if I go ahead and save and come back to my browser and refresh, you'll see the difference. Oh, it looks better now. It looks cooler now, right? Much different. Even though it's not exactly what we have on the mock-up, it's cooler than what we had before, right? Just let me know if you're able to do that as well. Let me know if you're able to change the color of your heading and also change the font type. If you're able to do that, just say yes or type yes in the chat. If you're able to do it, can I get a feedback? If you're having issues, okay, someone says it's not sure the font changed. Or someone says, now if you're having any difficulty, please take note of every single character. It might be that you're missing a semicolon somewhere. It might be that you're missing a colon somewhere. It It might be that you're missing a quote somewhere, or even the equal to sign. Check that you're not missing the closing or the opening angle brackets either. Just check a few of these details, that's all. You should have exactly what I'm having here. Okay, if your color changed, fine. If you were unable to have this font family, you can actually change this to something else that you have on your computer. If, for example, you're using a MacBook, you probably may not have Century Gothic on your MacBook, right? So you probably just want to check up what you have obtainable in your word processor, and then check up the font type and enter that in here, and you'll be able to have what you want. Okay, so basically we can say that we are done with the header area because our logo is all set. Okay, Daniel. Oh, okay, beautiful. So Daniel, were you able to put your logo in the center eventually? Daniel, let me know what's up with your code. Let me see. Let me see your code. That's the line.
Yeah,
That's filling in the center. It's not work like this here. It's R, not RE.
which one?
Center.
Okay.
Semicolon.
Yeah, okay.
When you put semicolon at the end. There's a semicolon at the end. Is it there already?
Yes, I did that.
Okay. So check it out. Should open. Okay, go ahead and add color. Change the font type. You can check my code.
Are you done? That's got to go.
Okay, so we're trying to give some time to Daniel to catch up with us. Daniel seems to be behind on his code, so Daniel wants to look at the code and catch up with us. So Daniel, can we proceed? Please let us know if we can proceed now. Okay, Daniel, are we good to go? Can we proceed? Daniel, can we proceed now? Daniel, are you ready now? Okay, so Daniel is set. Let's proceed. Let's proceed. Stella's still there. Oh, okay, good. So let's quickly wrap up. We're already behind time. I'm really sorry about the delay. Yeah, but we're almost done. Okay, so far, here's what we have. We have our header set, our logos colored well and well styled, and we need to get our first item, our item 1, well set as well. Can we move now? We need to travel really fast now, but no fears, you'll still understand. Okay, Daniel, are you set? Are you set? Daniel, are you set? Okay, yeah, Daniel says yes. So let's proceed. Next thing is we want to move down to item 1. Here is item 1. And so far we have something to represent item 1, but they're not looking alike. It looks like ours is scattered, while over here item 1 is looking really well structured here. Right? So towards the right hand side you have these names, and towards the left you have the image. And that's exactly what we should have. So let's quickly do that with CSS. The first thing is we need to push this camera over to the left and pull these guys, these other details, over next to it on the right hand side. Okay, I want you to see every element as a rectangle. So you see every div element as a rectangle. So for example, this div element is a rectangle, and the image div element, for example, that's holding this image is a rectangle, and it's going from end to end like this, like that. So if I right click, I'll show you how it is that it's a rectangle. Because if I right click now, I'm sorry, my right click is not working here. Okay, and I say inspect element, and I pick this arrow and bring it over this image. Can you see that? Now that I pull it over this image, and it's just like a rectangle there, right? That's the way every element is. If I put it over this, it's like a rectangle. Can you see that rectangle forming from end to end? And if I put over this paragraph here, that's another rectangle forming from end to end. And if I put over the button, it's a rectangle there forming from end to end. Okay, so now this is a rectangle. This div here is a rectangle. This is a rectangle here. And every element that you have in your HTML are actually like rectangles. They behave like rectangles. A lot of rectangles coming together to form a structured page, right? That's exactly why you have this like this. But then there are two types of elements. You have block elements and you have inline elements. Block elements will usually have to occupy the entire length of the screen. That's why you can see that this camera takes, even though it's not occupying the whole space, it will not let the text sit beside it. Look at the heading as well, pet shop. The logo is not occupying the whole space, but it will not let the camera stay beside it, because div elements are block elements. So the pet shop logo is in an H1 heading element, which itself is a block element, and that H1 element is in a div element, which is also a block element. Block elements will not allow other elements to sit beside them. And the unfortunate thing is we have the image in a div, which is a block element, and we have other details in a div, which is another block element. This means that we will never be able to allow these two elements sit beside each other like we have on our mockup. Well, could that be? But I think we can actually find our way around with CSS, because if HTML has said no, then we can look to CSS and we can see what are the potentials that CSS have to alter the normal flow of HTML. And there are certain properties in CSS that we can utilize to force these block elements to behave like their inline elements. Inline elements are just the direct opposite of block elements, because inline elements, they allow other elements to sit right beside them. So if, for example, pet shop was an inline element, this camera would have just been next to it. And this, if there was still more space, this canon text here would have just been next to it. But because it's not an inline element, it's a block element now, that's why we have it this way. All of them are taking their lines, right? But as soon as we force them to behave like inline elements now, we'll be able to make it appear just like this, with the camera sitting on the left and all the other details sitting on the right. And that's exactly what we want to do. Please let me know if you would like me to do a recap of what I just said now. If you'd like me to do a recap, just say recap. Okay, let's just proceed if everybody's understanding what we're doing so far. Right now, what we want to go ahead and do is to create this item to look like this, so that this is on the left and this is on the right. That's very simple. Open up your code again, and on your div element, I'm talking about your image div, right? Go right there. We're going to be adding a style attribute on that as well. A style attribute. Add a style attribute on that, just like we did for the header div previously. We're just doing the exact same thing here again, and we're saying This time around, we're going to be specifying a different CSS property, and that is float, because we want to force the camera to be on the left hand side. Float, right? And then we want to float it towards the left. So you say float, and then you set the value as left. Remember to put your semicolon before setting the value, and remember to end with remember to put a colon before setting the value, and remember to end with a semicolon. The colon comes before the value, you end with a semicolon, like that. This should force the camera to be on the left hand side. Meanwhile, the other details should be on the right hand side of the camera. So we'll come there as well and specify floats to be right. So we'll say style equal to floats, and we'll set this to right because we want to force this element here to be on the right side of the camera, so that they can both sit on the same line, just like we have in the mockup. Right? Another issue we're going to have is the size of our image is too big. So we need to reduce the size of the image. Now in the image tag, please come right in there and also add a style attribute so that the image size can be as small as what we have on the mockup. Right there, specify the width. Remember, the width is the property name. You can have several property names depending on what you want to achieve on any HTML element. There are a whole lot. There's a very long list of property name, options that you can choose from. There are a lot of CSS documentation that we'll share with you, and you'll be able to fetch any property names from there. You don't need to memorize these things, you just need to practice with them, right? So with width, I can actually increase the width or reduce the width of any HTML element. Right now I actually want to reduce the width of the image element, so I'll specify width and I'll give it a very small width, say something like 100 and, well, let's say 200 pixels. The unit is in pixels, just like you used to have meters, centimeters. This case in computer, you especially in writing your CSS, the dominant unit that is used is pixels. So we use pixels, and we also want to alter the height, so we can specify the height. The height should be shorter than the width, so we can specify the height to be maybe 100 pixels, and I think we should be fine with that. And then you end with a semicolon like that. Okay, please let me know if you're lost. Let me know if I've lost you. If you've been able to catch up, let me know too. Just follow the code. Yeah, so I'm waiting for you to catch up. Let me know when you've been able to All right. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So if you've been able to do that, I think we can proceed now. Right. Daniel, are we good? Okay, Daniel, can you just answer on the chat if we're good to go? All right. So let's go then. Yeah, we're basically done with our project for today. Just one more thing and we'll be done. But before we do that one more thing, let's save the changes that we've made so far and see what we've been able to achieve on the browser. Okay, save, open up your browser and refresh the page. Wow, looks like our stuff is coming together. Except that our camera is somewhere far left and this other stuff is somewhere far right. Maybe we'll probably want to bring these other details closer to our camera. Okay, so let's alter our code a bit. On your other details style, go to your div that has a class of other details and change your right to left. Let it be on the same side. So because we want it to be on the same side with the camera, right? We don't want it to be far apart. We want to be on the same side with the camera. Let it be closer to the camera. So we're saying, okay, float next, right next to the camera on the left side. So float left. Go join the camera on the left, sort of. So just do left. If you save that, we should have something that looks better. Save, open up your browser and refresh. Oh, okay, feels better now. So basically, we're virtually done with this, except that we now need to add a border around this and create other items. Okay, so how do we add a border around this? We need to add a border around this. Yeah, we need to add a border around this. Here, it's just one line of CSS. Open up your CSS and on the item 1 div, the div that carries the class name item 1, we're going to be making some changes there. We'll be specifying a style there because we need a border. And remember what the border looks like? The border looks like this one that we have here, right on item 1. Okay, so we want something similar to that around this. So come over here and say style and say border. For every border, there must be a level of thickness. If you open up your browser and you check this mockup again, you realize something there. There's a border around each item here. And then that border is quite very light, very light and thin. And it has a color that looks like gray, right? And yeah, it's not a dashed line. It's actually a straight line forming the border, not a dashed line, not a dotted line, right? It's just a straight line. So we've been able to identify the thickness of that border, the type of the border, and the color of the border. And we need to specify that in our CSS. So come over to your CSS. With the in front of the border property, you need to specify number 1, the thickness, which is measured in pixels as well. Like I said, the dominant unit in CSS is pixels. So pixel, we'll just specify 1 pixels as a thickness of the border. What type of border is it? The number of others, the number of type of borders, you could have dotted, like this, or you could have dashed like this. But what we actually have here is just a straight line, solid. It's a solid line. Finally, what's the color? Gray. So you say gray like this, and then semicolon. With this, we've been able to achieve our border. If you save that, open up your page and refresh. Wow, that's it. Now you notice what's happening here is my border is supposed to be surrounding my item 1, but instead it's showing only at the top of my item 1. This is not what we want to achieve. So we'll come back to your code, and there is something that we forgot to apply. We have done a float on the image div. We floated left, and we have done a float on the very next div to the image div, which is the other details div. We have also floated left. Please take note, for every float that you do on an element or two or more elements, in this case we have done a float on two elements, you must go to the parent element and do an overflow. So in this case we have done a float on two elements. We must go to the parent element. In this case, the parent element of both elements is the item1 element, the div element with the class name item1. We must go there and do an overflow on the CSS. So here we'll say overflow, and we'll say hidden. So for every float that you do, you must go to the parent element and do an overflow and specify the value as hidden, just as you have it here. If you save this now, you should have something that we expect to see. If you open up here and refresh your browser, beautiful. So we have exactly what is here. Good enough, we've been able to create our border, and that's cool, right? Let me be sure